What's up, everybody? I'm back again, and we are on stream number 59, baby, and we're not stopping. I'm not stopping. I forgot to set up the background. All right. Anyway, we're doing painting again today. Look at the stream. Painting's coming along quite nicely, I have to say. Um, yeah, and some YouTube video. We'll watch some commentary. I'll do some commentary, and we'll have a grand old time. Uh, I went live without being completely ready, like an idiot. So, give me 1 second. Oh, oh, no, 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 no. I'm gonna the like, keys. Yeah. Ooh, what if I put this like this? Here, that work? That work. Man, it's like I'm standing in front of like, oh, not enough light. Wait, the light on all that? Oh God. Well, it's either blindingly like a gigantic light. Maybe if I do that. Yeah, I'm a little bit close. That shit is so bright. And maybe like that. That works. Anything's missing. Oh, this one's not tall enough. I think that one's supposed to go over there, but it's okay. All right, let's get to painting. So the last stream I did was actually a gameplay stream that I haven't done in a while. But it worked out perfectly. Path of Exile was working great. My capture card was finally working great. Um, yeah, so I think I'm definitely going to do another one of those very soon. But we are at number 59. We gained a subscriber yesterday or during that stream. We're now up to 20. We need 5 more, and then we get to 25 to meet that freaking goal. And then I think we need to do 25 more before we can hit. I can finally become like an affiliate or something. But I'm really trying to do this organically. I've posted it on my personal Facebook a couple times, but nobody seems to really, you know. That's okay though. Anyway, I am going to post in the comments um Good Bad Man's stuff to check out for this stream. This is a something I do every single stream now, where I just give you some stuff to look up, check out if you've already heard of them or it. Cool, but I don't know. I just like spreading information. So for artists this stream, we have COLIN PRAHL on Facebook. Awesome stuff. Music, we have What's Your Number by Cypress Hill. movie, we have Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which was the book, I think, a couple of them ago, but the movie based on the book. For TV/YouTube, we have Spawn Wave, which we're probably going to watch today. And then for book/magazine, we have Breaking Open the Head by Daniel Pinch Beck, which is this book. I got a long time ago, and it's actually a really cool book. Psychedelic journey into the heart of contemporary shamanism. It is actually a fucking nuts book. But that being said, that is good Batman stuff to check out. And we are moving on to painting. And I didn't set up anything. And once again, I am extremely unprepared and unprofessional. But that's all right because I can do whatever the fuck I want. All right, let's get to these videos. So let me roulette it. What do you got? Eric Davis, wild claim made at Soul Foundation event. All right, let's see. This is 9 minutes long.
Did Eric Davis just confirm the UFO Legacy program?
Tell us, Patrick.
Now, I have 4 different clips to show you in today's video, right? That's going to help explain this. Also included in those clips is a snippet of an upcoming interview I have with a gentleman that goes by the name Missile Man online. More about him in just a moment. The first thing I'm going to play for you is a interview that Eric Davis did with Missile Man, right, on the Jesse Michael channel, right, American Alchemy. Little preview of that, right? Link in the description for that full video. I highly recommend checking it out. Now, more about Missile Man in just a moment. First, take a look at this clip of Eric Davis on American Alchemy.
If you were asked to appear before Congress under oath, would you willingly do that?
The only way I'll testify, actually, the reality is in a classified setting. DOD can come after me. What happened to Dave Grush? Physically harassed at his home and in his vehicles after he filed his whistleblower complaint. It was before he ever testified. All I have was the stuff that I accumulated and gathered going up through the OSAP and ATIP. And that's how I met Dave Grush. Right. Jay Stratton introduced me to Dave. He was the NRO liaison officer to the UAPTF. So anyway, I met both of them, and I gave Dave all my data, all my briefing information, and he took that, ran with it, and he found everything. George Bush, when he was the CIA director, he was given some pretty spectacular information about a major UAP event took place in the early 60s, and Bush's eyes lit up, and this is what he told me. He said, "What are you talking about?" The Pentagon liaison officer told him all about it. He said, "Are you kidding me? There's a there?" Yeah. And he said, "Absolutely." And he said, "Well, I want to see the evidence." And the evidence was in the form of documentation, but the film was the primary thing.
So there's a lot of things said in that interview. I highly recommend checking it out. Again, link in the description. You'll quite rather enjoy what's said in there from Eric Davis. Now, if you notice in the back, right next to Eric Davis is a gentleman, right here, seen in this picture. His name is Missile Man, right? And I had a chance to interview him. And more on that in just a second. Again, I've got a clip of that. But first, I want to play another clip from this same Jesse Michaels video where Jesse talks about Missile Man and how he has essentially joined the team over at American Alchemy for sort of a scientific series of sorts. So you know what? Let Jesse explain a little bit better.
This conversation wouldn't have been possible without my technical correspondent, pseudonymously named Jack, or Missile Man on Twitter. Jack has over 15 years of experience in defense and aerospace and holds a very strong background in mathematics, materials R&D, and physics. For now, he's chosen to remain pseudonymous due to his work in sensitive areas of national security. Jack and I are going to be starting a technical series together on UFO physics. It's going to be an extremely deep dive on how UFOs fly, the exotic principles they employ, and materials they use.
All right, so Jesse did such a better job of explaining that. So anyway, look, again, I had a chance to interview Missile Man, or Jack as he's known, right, anonymously, about this Eric Davis interview and other things, to be honest with you. It was a fascinating conversation. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because that video is going to be coming out this week, right? So, all right, let's get to this clip that I have. Give you a little snippet of what our interview was, and you can hear Jack or Missile Man talk about the Eric Davis interview, but also something else he's going to bring up, because stay tuned to the end of this video because I have a special clip of Eric Davis speaking at the Soul Foundation that's finally been released, and those videos are going to be dropping very shortly, right? So stay tuned for that. Like when you walked away, right, and Eric Davis went right and y'all went left, what was like the first thought y'all had? Like, I'm sure there was like, oh, remember he said that, like, what was some of the things y'all were like excited that he had mentioned?
Yeah, there was definitely like hooting and hollering and high fives, and like we couldn't believe that had just happened. It was pretty amazing. What jumped out at me was the raw conversation about talking to HW, because somewhere back in the record in an interview somewhere he had mentioned that he talked to HW Bush about the existence of the program, but the detail that HW got read in sort of by accident by his DoD liaison officer, who thought that CIA already read him in the process of being selected as director, and the fact that he was not told about it again later when he became president, that lends credence to a lot of theories that presidents are not told, or they're told as little as possible. And on that note, what will serve as a really great like appendix to the Davis interview that we did is when the Davis and Kirk McConnell videos go up from Seoul, where they appeared together on stage. That would be really good, because there's some complimentary questions that were asked of Kirk McConnell and of Davis while they were on stage. And I wrote a couple of questions that other interviewers took up to the stage to ask about different things. And one of those being this question of how much are presidents told.
So again, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can be updated of when that interview drops. It's going to be very, very soon. You're going to want to see it. It's a fascinating conversation. Now, let's get to this Soul Foundation clip that everyone's been waiting months for to be released, unless you were there, right, personally, which was a select few, Missile Man being one of them. And as you can see, he got some questions in himself, right? So I've got a clip, again, of Eric Davis and the same clip that Missile Man is talking about with Kirk McConnell, right? Here's a screenshot right here. You can see Eric Davis on the left, the host in the middle, and then on the far right, Kirk McConnell. So let's take a look at this Soul Foundation clip. I'll see you on the other side.
It's been pretty clear from people like Jim Lukowski and President, 4-star admiral, general, 3-star admiral, colonels, corporate vice presidents who've either been briefed on it directly or had worked on it directly, that it is of non-human origin. It's very clear. There's no ambiguity. So I talked to the program people themselves at one particular well-known aerospace company. And that was one of the things that gobsmacked me, is this is not a myth. This is not people writing UFO books about the topic like Roswell Crash and Del Rio, Texas, and Lonnie Zamora and Bette Waters. There's a there. And these people are not dumb. They're not putting out BS. I was representing the Defense Intelligence Agency at the time, so they're not allowed to give me BS. And so definitely real. The descriptions I've received, foreign intelligence I've been exposed to involving this topic in foreign countries is pretty stark, including photographs I've seen, reports I've seen, and lab testing of materials that have been recovered.
So did Eric Davis just admit to this UFO program, right? Am I hearing that right? Sounds like he is. Right. Now, I'll admit,
They already
time,
did.
we'll have to wait till the full interview comes out with the Soul Foundation. But if you go watch that Jesse Michaels interview, you'll see, some revelations in that thing, right? And as well as my
In that
interview with
thing.
Missile Man, which I highly recommend checking out. But yeah, this is interesting, right? Everyone's coming out and admitting the program is real. What's interesting about this interview and the other interviews that Eric Davis has done, right? Because that interview at the beginning that I showed, the Jesse Michaels interview, that was done at the Soul Conference, right? So these were kind of together, right? Eric Davis before hadn't done really any interviews, and all of a sudden you're just hearing from him a lot more, which I do find interesting. Is he just finally willing to open up, right? How
Man,
put off
he
as
says the
well,
word
right?
interesting
It's like
a
all these people are
lot.
coming out of the woodworks that normally hadn't before, to talk and give more details about things. So again, I can't wait to see that full video of Eric Davis and Kirk McConnell talking about this. And again, I
Yeah, that
highly
might be a
recommend going
problem.
to check out that Jesse Michaels interview. Link in the description. I've got a link in the description for the Soul Foundation stuff as well. And again, make sure to subscribe to the channel for that Missile Man interview that should be dropping very, very shortly. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next video. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones
I don't get how he's able to use that song as his theme. Like, did he pay for the like how do you do that? What happens if you pay for a song? Are you just renting it? Are you just renting the rights to it for a certain amount of time? Or because it's so confusing. What happens when the video is older? Alright, let's see. Oh, alright.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So now that the Switch 2 has been officially revealed in terms of the hardware, a lot of the attention, of course, now turns to the software, the games. Well, a recent report has been making the rounds over the last 24 hours that seems to be talking about more third-party games from a specific publisher, and figure we take a look at that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Hollow Knight Silksong, as it was back in the news since developers seem to have broken their silence over this game that people have been wondering about for good part of 6 years now. And then we also have that Xbox Developer Direct happening later on today that may have a couple more surprises than expected. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps that a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members of the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button down below.
I need
we're going to start today with the Dreamcast, as another game has been ported to the platform, which it's funny to still think about that with
I need a giant plushy like button. So whenever we're watching a video and somebody says hit the like button, I can just throw it up and punch the like button. I think that would be cool. Man, I am waiting and waiting for this phone call. They didn't give me an appointment or anything for my teeth. So I'm just waiting until I don't know how long it takes them to make them. 'Cause that's all I think that's all I'm waiting for. Is for them to call me when it's ready to come and fit and everything. Or it should just fit, because he did 8 different impressions of my mouth. But yeah, I gotta say, maybe once I get the teeth, I'll do a stream just explain going over the whole process of it, of getting all your teeth taken out and the healing and what to eat and stuff like that. I lost so much weight from getting my teeth out. Ridiculous. I think the first week I barely ate anything because it's just hard to. But yeah, I just can't wait to stop talking like this at this freaking lisp. There's like sometimes I'm talking and it's like my mouth feels like it's like in knots and I can't like get the words out right. Super annoying. But then I'm like wondering like, oh man, I really hope they didn't fuck up the dentures because like what if it makes like it even worse or like I sound completely different. Weirdly, I have a whistle. I don't know if you can hear that when I'm talking sometimes, but without teeth, like whatever way my mouth is moving to make the sounds that I'm trying to make, it's like there's like a whistle sound that happens. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I decided to go for because they asked they gave me two options. They gave me um like these bright white teeth or natural color. And I went with the natural one because I figure, I don't know, I feel like the super white teeth are kind of like a fad. And I don't know, they just look, they're almost too distracting. Like I just want a normal smile that doesn't look, I feel like, I feel like also if they do a bad job on it, it won't look as bad because it's not gonna, they're not gonna be bright white where it clearly looks like they're fake, you know? Here, 1 second. Oh. Boop, boop, boop. I gotta say, I watched the inauguration. I'm excited. That shit fired me up. I'm like really excited, which is crazy because I couldn't have fooled you that I would have ever voted for him. Like, I mean, I'll be completely honest. I voted for Biden the last time. Yeah. And then, well, not the last time. I voted for him when he got elected because I was legitimately just brainwashed by CNN. I had been watching CNN my entire life, and I thought that they were completely like um fair with their news coverage to both sides. And then once I finally like started researching this shit for myself, took me a little bit, but and there is still some stuff I totally don't agree with the Republican Party, but it was enough stuff that I did agree with that I was like, well, what the fuck, man? Our country's going to shit, like absolute shit. I can't even imagine what would have happened if the Democrats won. Like, we would have been fucked. And, you know, I have compassion for human beings, but if you're in the country illegally, man, the whole word illegal, you know, like we're the only country that seems to really have this problem. And, I mean, not a problem anymore. Pretty sure they just locked down the border, so I don't think anybody else is coming through right now. A bunch of other shit too, but man, I need some white paint. I swear to God I had a new tube of it, but I have been misled by myself. Oh, wait. Look how convenient that is. The exact color of purple I was looking for. I think I'm wearing these pants. All right.
the
Excuse me.
Dreamcast getting games technically, but in this case, you have a
You
lot
got
of the
Badman
community
coming
that
out a little bit.
won't let the system go away. They just won't. And it's actually really cool to see some of these projects even get released for people to download and try out for themselves. The latest one we can see posted up over on Time Extension, as they are citing Jan over on Twitter X, saying, I'm porting the classic Prince of Persia for Dreamcast. It's now available. Actually, you can play the classical way against time or use a quick save feature, which will actually still cost you time. But still, it is technically available now, as you can download the CDI for the game on the project's GitHub page and load it up, whether it's on a disk that you burn, or I guess if you have one of those SD card loaders for it, which I do think is actually worth getting, because it does make projects like these a lot easier to drop onto it and play kind of on the, pretty much on the fly, since this is an alpha release. So it's not, I guess they're finished product there or anything, but still really cool to see that running. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the original Prince of Persia games myself, it's still neat, of course, for fans of it, or just someone who wants to see something new for their Dreamcast. Also, an ESRB rating was spotted for a game from Capcom that might have just sounded exciting there, but then you see the rating for it, and that is for Resident Evil 6, which I understand in the Resident Evil community isn't exactly the highest on the list for most people, but it has actually been a while now, I think about it, since I've played through that game, so I wonder my opinion's changed on it at all. But either way, it does appear at this time there's an Xbox Series listing on the ESRB website, and some places like you can see Pure Xbox said Resident Evil 6 ESRB rating spotted ahead of Xbox Developer Direct. Could it be this legendary Japanese IP? I feel like that would actually be very disappointing for people out there, especially since, as we'll get into later on, there's a certain franchise that people are hoping see some sort of revival with a new version in the franchise. But nonetheless, Resident Evil 6, not shocking to hear that Capcom would decide to port it to something else with the Xbox Series, I guess PlayStation 5, maybe the Switch too. So I guess just keep an eye out for the legendary Resident Evil 6 maybe showing up at some point on the timeline. Oh, and we did get a sales update for Ace Combat 7, which actually, I took a look, did come out 6 years ago, and we can see, posted up on their official account, 6 million copies have now sold worldwide. In fact, the overall franchise for Ace Combat has sold now 20 million, so, I mean, 7 makes up 6 million. I mean, you can kind of see how just the franchise in general continues to grow, seemingly with Ace Combat. So, as I mentioned, it's been a while since 7. I'm kind of thinking we're going to see, I guess, the next big Ace Combat game here soon, especially with sales numbers like that. And I know the game itself has been on sale multiple times, been very, very cheap, but they've also done things like ported over to the Switch. It's something that many people didn't think was even possible, but there it was. And they added VR support, which actually added a whole new layer to that game. So they've done a lot of work to it. It seems to have paid off. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what's next for the Ace Combat series, especially after 6 million sold with the latest entry. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Switch 2 and the software, the games that people are hoping will just flood this platform like never before with Nintendo, especially when it comes to third parties, because we already know Nintendo is going to support this with some top-tier first-party games. It's always kind of been the question mark of how many third parties will jump on board, right? Like, for the Switch, as an example, EA didn't really do a lot when it came to Madden, that kind of stuff. And while I know many people out there are like, who cares? There is still a large number of people who buy Madden every year, and that's just something that's just kind of not there for a system that's, I mean, coming up on 150 million here very, very soon. Yeah, and things like Call of Duty as another big one that's just not there. But it does sound like third parties are going crazy and falling over themselves to get to this system. And maybe that's something that will really show through when we get to that April 2nd event. But in the meantime, we are seeing more and more reports circulate online, as some are alluding to the idea that third parties are going to show up in force. Others just listing a bunch of games. And this one in particular is from Microsoft, which go figure, but we can see this posted up over on Insider Gaming, where they say the news comes from the video game insider X1's. Anyway, they posted up a video and then a report about the Switch 2, and according to it, the following games will be coming to the Switch 2. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, Halo the Master Chief Collection, Diablo 4, a Call of Duty game, Fallout 4, and Starfield. So I will tell you, looking up and down the list, many of these are not surprising or we've heard of them already. Flight Simulator, Halo Master Chief Collection, we just talked about. Nate kind of putting that
Starfield.
information out there like a week or so ago. It's not also
God,
surprising about
Starfield
Call
is
of Duty
such a
since
fucking
it's been very
disappointment.
publicly shown as part of that FTC case, the whole thing. Microsoft signing with Nintendo for a 10-year deal. Call of Duty is going to
If
this
they
new
fuck up
Switch, and
GTA
it's gonna
6, I'm
happen
gonna be
this
so
year.
mad.
Like, that's all pretty locked in. We understand that. Diablo 4 is interesting. Again, not terribly surprising because Diablo 3 was on the
It comes
current
out this
Switch,
year.
so
We still haven't
naturally
gotten a
with more
second
capable
trailer.
hardware that we see here, yes, I'm sure Diablo 4 would be making the move to it. I will say though, Starfield is an interesting one. Fallout 4 was reportedly planned for the Switch 1, as I believe Imran Khan had talked about that, but it wouldn't shock me if Bethesda played around with the idea of Fallout 4 going to the Switch, and maybe it just wasn't able to handle it, and they just kind of scrapped that idea, or put it on hold until the Switch 2 comes out. Starfield, though. So Starfield works on the Xbox Series S, and I think that is going to be a comparable for the Switch 2. While it's not technically on paper
What games
as
don't work on
powerful in
that?
terms of raw specs, there's a lot going on when it comes to it having more available memory in terms of RAM. And then also NVIDIA versus AMD, it's just not one-to-one. It really is hard to compare teraflops and that kind of stuff. And we know it does have DLSS. So basically what I'm saying is it wouldn't shock me if Starfield was there, because I do think the Switch 2 will be able to run it. The question, though, obviously comes into play of how is it going to look and how will it actually run? And I say that because we do have games that have come to the Switch 1, but came with quite a few sacrifices to where kind of bordering on the edge of, was it really worth doing? I know when Doom and Doom Eternal and stuff came over, it was like kind of this weird thing of, oh, they cut the frame rate in half, and then at times the resolution had to drop pretty low to make it happen. And it was sort of the same thing with things like Witcher 3. And while we did see patches and other things happen in like the homebrew community where they were able to push the frame rate up at times, even to 60 FPS, it was pretty clear there were a lot of limitations that were in play to have it officially released without cranking up clock speeds and making that battery life get cut down quite a bit. So these would be some of those big near impossible ports. I still think one of the biggest ones would be either Cyberpunk, since that's still viewed as a game that is crushing on hardware. And then obviously Grand Theft Auto 6. I will tell you, if Nintendo shows up April 2nd with Rockstar and Take-Two in tow, and they're like, yeah, GTA 6 is coming to this thing at some point, I think that would turn some heads. That would probably impress a lot of people. And while it is interesting to see Microsoft seemingly going almost all in on this device, especially with things like Halo and as we mentioned, Call of Duty and others, it's not quite on that impossible port level necessarily, but it is cool to hear about more and more third parties showing up. Seems that EA's kind of been floated along with Take-Two, Ubisoft, and more. So I am wondering how many will show up at that April 2nd event and how many we'll start hearing about in the months following, especially with Summer Game Fest. A lot of times you tune into those events and you just figure the Switch logo won't be there after a big third-party game is shown. Kind of feels like it might be the opposite with the Switch 2. And that is a very interesting, very different, but also very exciting setup here for Nintendo's hardware. So we'll see how all this plays out, and if we get more and more discussion around other third-party games that could be making the jump, as we're all kind of hanging out waiting for April 2nd to get here. Next up, let's talk about Hollow Knight Silksong, as we do have an update technically, although it is kind of humorous to see what that update is. But right now, people are legitimately wondering if this game is even real anymore, or if it's just kind of gone, and that's sort of it. And a lot of that has to do with it being announced, I don't know, 6 years ago almost. That is quite a while for what originally was kind of introduced as like an expansion for Hollow Knight. Clearly has spun off into something much larger. But we can see this posted up. This is overall on Twitter X from Matthew Griffin, who's the marketing and publishing for Hollow Knight Silksong at Team Cherry. In response, as somebody just kind of tagged them over there, asking about what's going on, says, yes, the game is real, progressing, and it will release. And there's a little heart emoji thing there. But still, the idea of having to show up here on social media and go, yeah, the game is real, guys. It is a thing. And it'll release at some point. I mean, again, it's humorous that it has gotten to that level. But think about every time there's a Nintendo Direct, even kind of a State of Play, a Microsoft event, a Summer Game Fest, Gamescom, it's always like in the chat, Silksong, Indie Direct. Anything Sony does with indie games, it always comes up and is constantly there. And it has gotten to that meme status level. And I do wonder if Team Cherry, while I don't think they meant for it to go this long, because again, originally it was supposed to be attached to Hollow Knight as like an expansion thing. It has gone on so long now, though, that I wonder if when they do show it, if it can live up to those expectations. Like, what has this game evolved into? Because it feels like it's much, much larger than it was supposed to be. And when that happens and people's expectations go through the roof, and then you show up with something that looks good, but not incredible or mind-blowing, it's still disappointing for people. Although, who knows, maybe it gets to a position where, look, if we just see this thing and it actually comes out, we'll be happy. Maybe it's gotten to that point too. But either way, at some point it will release, I guess. And since it has been 6 years, and then we had an update in 2023 that it had been delayed, I don't know, hey, April 2nd, there you go. It could be at the Switch 2 thing, or maybe at some point Microsoft shows it at one of their events since it's going into Game Pass. Day one, who knows? Hey, maybe Jeff will get it at Summer Game Fest. Either way, I'm sure people will be bringing up constantly in the chat at any of these different events that are live streamed, or then in the comments right below it until it eventually does show up. Next up, we do have that Xbox Developer Direct that will be live 1 p.m. Eastern Time or 10 a.m. Pacific. And people are kind of going back and forth right now as to a surprise game that could be there, since they've said that there will be 3 known games and then 1 that will be unveiled while the event is happening. And we can see this. This is a quick summary that Cloverl did post up. Doom the Dark Ages, South of Midnight, Clair Obscure Expedition 33, and then a surprise game. So that surprise game is the thing that's really caught a lot of people's attention, trying to guess what it is. The leading candidate right now that people are guessing is Ninja Gaiden. And look, if that is the case, and that's the legendary franchise that is getting a new entry here, that would be awesome. Like a new Ninja Gaiden 4. Ninja Gaiden 3, I know, didn't necessarily hit for everyone, but it would still be awesome, and it's still a franchise I would love to see get a new entry, like Team Ninja showing up here with an awesome-looking Ryu Hayabusa and playing into, I think, more so Ninja Gaiden 2 than anything else. That's still, I know people like the first one because it was incredible when it showed up on the original Xbox. 2 was really good, though. But still, there's also questions around the idea of maybe there's a little more here. So Jez Corden also replied saying maybe more than one surprise, too. And I have wondered if, while they say there's one surprise here, if maybe there's a follow-up. While we were joking about Resident Evil 6 being a thing, and I guess it's possible randomly Capcom's like, hey, here's Resident Evil 6, and then everyone, like, the crowd goes mild. But, like, maybe you could see Square Enix show up as they're going off air. It's like, kind of does like the static thing, like, oh, they're taking over the stream. You're at Square Enix's headquarters, and then Final Fantasy 16 shows up and just shadow drops right onto the Xbox. That would be a really cool thing just to kind of have there. And Microsoft right now is in an interesting position because their 2025 is actually shaping up to be pretty good in terms of content. So yeah, why not throw something fun out there like a shadow drop from a big third party like Square Enix, get the ball rolling again on that relationship, and start having these Final Fantasy games go to the Xbox platform. As it appears, Remake and Rebirth also set up to be there in the next 2 years or so. Remake this year, Rebirth next year. So hey, I'm pretty intrigued by what they have for us with this Xbox Developer Direct. With Doom the Dark Ages, South of Midnight, Clair Obscure Expedition 33, and some mystery stuff could end up being a pretty good show for them. So tune in later on this afternoon. We'll see what they have. Otherwise, though, of course, I'll give you guys the summary tomorrow on Newswave. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a bit of an update for a story that we just talked about with Bend and Bluepoint, and how their projects, their live service games, were canceled in development. Now they're kind of moving on to other things. At least they're not closing from what we've seen with Sony, but who knows? I guess people can be laid off as projects end and new ones start up. But there was one interesting thing that was thrown out there that definitely had people kind of like kind of recoil a bit after hearing this, because it goes along with what appears to be a lot of disorganization from the outside. But like, you can see this posted up. This is over on VGC, where they say Bluepoint and Bend staff learned their live service PS5 games were canceled at the same time as everyone else. Now, this was said by Jeff Grubb on his Game Mess morning show. He says, I looked into this a little bit, Yeah, all this is true. The two studios found out at the same time as everyone else. So people will be going into work today wondering, hey, okay, what are we doing next? And what they're going to have to do next, very likely, is pitch something to Sony. And the landscape of that has changed pretty drastically. I guess just the idea of pitching stuff, what kind of environment they're in now versus years ago with the live service push happening and maybe not happening as much now. But as people were kind of mulling this over, Jason Schreier, who of course put out the original story around Bluepoint and Bend having their games canceled, responded saying, I've seen this story getting a lot of traction on Reddit today, but it's not true. People across the organization were informed before my article went out last week, which... The thing with this, it's very clear Jason Schreier talked with Sony, and it didn't happen the day he put the report out. It seemed like something that happened, as he mentioned, like a week before or so. If Sony is talking to the reporter who's going to post the story and they have confirmed this, yeah, I would assume that they go, oh, you know, we probably should make sure people at these studios know that these games are canceled. It'd be very odd if they did actually find out through a publication like Bloomberg, since, I mean, if they're going to work every day and they're not working, or they're working on a game and then they find out it's canceled like a week ago, but they've still been working on it. Again, to me, it doesn't really line up that much. And of course, with how the internet right now is viewing Sony as just very dysfunctional, you know, it's something where you just kind of jump to believing that immediately, even though it just doesn't line up very well. So I'm not really sure what the deal was there with Jeff Grubb and his communication with different people at these studios. But again, according to Jason Schreier, they actually knew about this a little while ago, definitely before his story went live. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, which is Game of the Year Madness. And it actually shows Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth taking down Dragon's Dogma 2. This is one that I thought would have been a bit closer, like 55-45, somewhere in there. Now it's 64-36, Infinite Wealth rolling over Dragon's Dogma 2. They're completing this round, and actually there's like 8 games left now, so things I think will get a bit tighter here, especially looking at some of the matchups coming up. There's some pretty good ones. We're going to start that up this week and see what happens here as we work down to the final 4. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Robert, who says, if the price of games keeps going up and up, people are just going to stop buying them. These companies shouldn't push the high development costs on the consumer. Make a game that isn't too much to develop for and charge a reasonable price, and you'll make your money back, providing the game has good gameplay and hooks the player. Not every game has to have realistic graphics. Yeah, that's the thing that I've noticed with this, is a lot of this does fall back to the companies and the publishers who are making these games. But also, as we've mentioned with people talk about inflation and stuff, the salaries in game development does also continue to rise. And we've seen how many people at times it takes to make some of these games. I mean, the costs are just out of control. And I have wondered if we went back and maybe visuals got pared down a bit. Maybe game length went to 10 to 15 hours. We didn't have big open worlds, but the games were still $60 to $70. Would that be an issue for people? Because I do see things like environments that aren't fully interactive. I see people who talk about reused assets or animations as being a negative thing online. And I mean, these are things that, yes, publishers and developers take notice of, to where it's like, well, we have to go above and beyond next time so that we can continue to sell at this sort of a clip. But then a sequel maybe doesn't do as well, and then the studio's gone because their development costs are so high. It's this tightrope that's trying to be walked right now, and I do wonder how much further they can really go before prices do go up. But then how does that affect their sales? Will they end up selling less than before and not making as much money? It's tough to figure out here, but I think you're absolutely right when it comes to development costs. These companies got to figure something out because they cannot keep going up. There's just no way that's possible. Eventually, yeah, the industry would struggle and crash from $100, $120 games. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear a bit more discussion around the situation with Sony, Bluepoint, Bend Studio, and their canceled live service games, I'll leave that right below. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.
What we got? What do we got? Give me more streaming. All right, let's see if the secret of, like, you know, manifesting things I can do it right now. I'm going to manifest somebody to start watching the stream. Watch this. Click on GOODBADMAN. Click on the stream. Right now. Didn't work. Alright. Oh, we got a video. Alright, let's see what we got here. Let me see what we got here. Jesus Christ. Why does he always use that thumbnail? Like, oh, such a.
Imagine a book written in a language so mysterious for 600 years, nobody has been able to uncover its message. The letters twist and curl like they belong to another world, flowing in patterns that defy every known script. Its words seem almost alive, even alien or otherworldly. It hints at secrets that we're not meant to understand. Is it a code from another civilization? Is it a forgotten language or something even stranger? Why does this strange, indecipherable text continue to captivate and haunt everyone who tries to unlock its secrets? This isn't just a story about a book, it's about humanity's obsession with the unknowable. Where did this manuscript come from, and what could it be possibly trying to tell us? This is something you're not going to want to miss out on, so let's get into it. Now, the Voynich manuscript is a strange and singular artifact, a small book, barely larger than a paperback novel, and it only has 240 pages. It's made of vellum, which is crafted from animal skin. Its age shows its weathered and yellowed pages, but its content remains just as vivid as the day they were inked. The text flows from left to right, written in a script entirely unlike anything found on Earth. Cryptographers have studied it for centuries, but nobody's even deciphered a single word. The manuscript isn't just a text. It's also filled with bizarre and ornate illustrations. There are planets that don't exist, there's astronomical diagrams that depict stars and celestial patterns that also defy explanation. Stranger yet are the images of women attached to tubes, laying in green pools and connected to some kind of weird device. It's like they were part of some forgotten medical ritual or alchemical practice. Every page raises more questions than answers. The Voynich manuscript isn't just a historical curiosity. It's a puzzle that continues to taunt us to this day. It's daring us to decipher its secrets,
every time he
and
talks,
as we'll
it's
see,
weird.
the obsession often takes a heavy toll on anyone that tries. It's almost as hard as deciphering the YouTube algorithm. Clearly, I haven't figured it out, but with your help, maybe I will someday. If you're able to share this video with somebody that you know, it really helps the channel. If you like what you're hearing, give us a like, maybe even subscribe. And if we haven't earned it, maybe we'll get it on one of the other videos if you check out the channel. Anyhow, I won't waste your time, I'm going to move on. The little bit that we do know of the Voynich manuscript history adds to its mystique. The manuscript was rediscovered in 1912 by a Polish bookseller, Wilfred Voynich, who was captivated by its mystery. But it didn't originate with him. Older records suggest that it was once owned by Emperor Rudolf II of the Holy Roman Empire, a man fascinated with alchemy and the occult. Now, as I mentioned, he came across this thing and he ended up paying 600 gold ducats, which is a staggering amount equal to the cost of a modest castle at the time. He believed it to be the work of Roger Bacon, a medieval English friar and scholar known for his groundbreaking work in science and mysticism. But Rudolph's acquisition was part of his larger obsession with alchemy and the occult. Yet after his death, the manuscript seems to disappear from documented history, reappearing sporadically in incomplete records. People who possessed it during this gap and why it remained hidden are questions that continue to baffle historians. Now, moving forward in time to the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, one of her advisors, John Dee, is said to have taken possession of the book. And Dee's deep involvement in alchemical studies and angelic communication makes him a compelling candidate for its possession. Adding to the intrigue is Edward Kelly, Dee's assistant, who is infamous for fabricating alchemical miracles. Now, some people would theorize that Kelly may have created or forged the manuscript as a ruse to sell to wealthy patrons, like Emperor Rudolph. While there's no direct evidence of this,
It's just a
possible
scammer.
connection does add a layer of mystery to its journey. The manuscript
I guess that kind of makes
would
sense.
disappear again during the end of the 1500s, early 1600s, and wouldn't reappear again until 1912. And the
That's
rediscovery
weird.
of the Voynich manuscript happens at an Italian monastery, discovered by a Polish bookseller for whom it's named after, Wilfrid Voynich. Now, Voynich immediately recognizes its uniqueness and believes it held hidden knowledge capable of reshaping medieval studies. He works tirelessly to decipher its contents, consulting experts and promoting the manuscript as a lost treasure of human history. But even Voynich's efforts couldn't solve this mystery. Despite every attempt Voynich would make during his life, he could never solve this manuscript. And going into more modern times, the carbon dating of the manuscript does show that this thing was created early in the 15th century, proving that Voynich himself couldn't have been some mastermind of a hoax that pulled this off, because during the time that he possessed this book, there was a lot of accusations around forgery. But still, many would wonder how an artifact of such complexity and ambiguity existed at all, and how it's remained hidden on and off over hundreds of years. It just didn't make a lot of sense. And throughout the journey, the Voynich manuscript seems to almost act as a silent observer, untouched for centuries, yet somehow driving the obsession of powerful people
We are so
who
back.
seem to cross its path.
Not as
Its
good as
owners
the
and
Black
scholars
Panther
all share a
Eraser,
common
though,
trait,
I have to
an
say.
insatiable desire to unlock its
It gets
secrets,
like kind
no
of
matter the cost. The manuscript's physical movement tell one story, but its ability to ignite obsession tells another. And as we move forward, we're going to explore some of the theories that have emerged, each attempting
I'm
to
probably going to
explain
do it
this
in
mysterious
purple
artifact
anyway,
and
so
what
I
it
don't
could
even
be
think
trying
I
to
need
tell
to
us.
do it.
Now, one of the more grounded theories suggests the Voynich manuscript is a medieval
fuck it, I'm
textbook
already halfway
of
done.
medical nature. It's specifically focused on women's health. The strange plants could represent herbal remedies, while the women bathing in green pools and connected to tubes might depict treatments or
How come they
symbolic
think it's a
representations
man
of the
who made
body's
it?
internal workings, or at least their understanding of it at the time.
Oh.
We're talking about a time when people thought that our body's functions were controlled by things like black bile and the humors. Now, supporters of this theory point to the 15th century European tradition of producing herbals, which were manuals detailing medicinal uses of plants. But here's the catch. Not a single plant in the manuscript matches any known species on this planet. If it was meant to be a guide, why rely on plants that don't exist? Could the creator have intentionally obscured real-world knowledge, or were they depicting something else entirely? Perhaps it was meant to be secretive. Voynich manuscript also aligns with esoteric traditions of alchemy and the occult, which flourished during the time of its creation. Its diagrams of celestial bodies and strange mechanisms echo the kind of mystic symbols found in alchemical texts. Alchemy wasn't just about turning lead into gold. It was a philosophical and spiritual pursuit. The manuscript's cryptic language and bizarre illustrations could have been an attempt to encode knowledge intended only for the initiated, protecting its secrets from unworthy eyes. This theory ties back to figures like Emperor Rudolph II, who purchased the manuscript and was famously obsessed with the occult. Could the manuscript have been created to cater to the desires of the wealthy patrons like Rudolph, blending mysticism and pseudoscience into a tantalizing package? I don't see how this is completely out of the realm of possibility if you look at the history of the night.
I will be right back. I need to go get some more erasers. Here. Alright, I'm gonna put my brakes thing on. Be right back. we're back. I swear, the only type of eraser that I can get to work really well is these freaking black pencils. And I have to rip the eraser out and put it into this thing. And then it works amazing. Oh, like butter, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Knights Templar or the Masons and things like that, having esoteric texts or hidden meanings behind things is a very common way to keep secrets. Now, of course, like a lot of people believe, this could all be one giant hoax. A hoax that was pulled by someone hundreds of years ago, and nobody's going to have a clue for the rest of human history.
That is
It
true.
was never meant to convey any meaningful knowledge. It was meant to troll people of the time and possibly people of the future. Some others suggest that it was just a hoax designed to do wealthy buyers. One popular suspect is Roger Bacon, the 13th century scholar and polymath whose name is linked to this document throughout history. Then there's also the possibility that Wilfred Voynich himself fabricates this.
Nah.
He's a bookseller, right? He stands to gain from any profit and
the language
reputation that
itself is
this manuscript is
wacky.
going to create. While carbon dating it does disprove that he likely created this book, it doesn't completely disprove the fact that he could have altered it or added things to make it more mysterious. And that could have happened multiple times over the course of history, and we're never going to know. But there's one thing that the carbon dating did confirms. This thing is definitely from the 15th century, so it's hundreds of years old. But if this manuscript is a hoax, it is an extraordinary one, especially considering that it had to be done hundreds of years ago. The text does follow consistent rules, suggesting it was written following a pattern of intent, and whether or not the creator was trying to hoax either people locally or the entire human race, its creator would have had to have a deep understanding of alchemy, language, and cartography. So this person would have had to be nothing short of a genius, especially 600 years ago. So whether or not it's a hoax is hard to say, but it almost seems for it to actually be true as a hoax, it's as unlikely as some of the other more extraordinary theories. Or should I say extraordinary. And one of the theories is that maybe this book itself has extraterrestrial or futuristic origins. Now, maybe extraterrestrials landed on Earth, they were encoding our knowledge in a way that no human could possibly understand. Maybe they were studying this and left it behind. Or perhaps this is a book that came from another timeline or a future person who time traveled back in time, leaving the book for humans to discover and basically not understand what it is. The same way that if you sent a new Tesla vehicle back in time to a caveman, they're going to look at it going, what the fuck is this? As fun as the otherworldly theories are to consider, there's absolutely no proof of it other than it's something we don't understand. The thing, though, that kind of works against this is that, firstly, they were able to carbon date it, and it looks like it was made from materials from Earth, so you never know. It could be some kind of study guide aliens were using at the time. In my heart, I don't actually believe that to be the case, but I sure like to think about it. Anyhow, we'll move on.
Yeah, we're good.
But
wow, that could have been a lot worse.
None of these
like
theories,
actual fake
as far as they go beyond
just paint
theory,
water.
None of them have the evidence to back up or prove one way or the other, whether it's a hoax, whether this was created as some kind of secret alchemy guide. That's
we
attached
just had
to
our
the
first
cult.
disaster together,
None of it
guys.
has evidence behind it that we can use to come to any kind of conclusion, especially considering the writing that we see in the book matches no language. So
better than I thought it was
centuries
going to.
of effort to crack this code.
That's some
One
old ass
person has
fucking
tried
water
more
too.
modern techniques and has come
Dude,
close
this
at times.
thing-
And his name is William Friedman, and he famously helped break codes for the Japanese during World War II.
Earthquake.
And he would turn his attention to the manuscript
God
with
damn, that was
unparalleled
fucking
expertise.
stupid.
And
Did
if
it
this
drip
guy couldn't
real?
solve it at the time, I don't think anybody could. But even with all the expertise this guy had in the world, he couldn't solve what this manuscript was trying to tell us. And linguists, mathematicians, computer scientists now have all tried to use advanced algorithms and AI to search for patterns in the text. Some claim to make minor breakthroughs, such as identifying linguistic rules or statistical structures.
I might have to go
no
on
one's
break
come
one more
close
time.
to uncovering the manuscript's true meaning.
I need to clean this
Even
up.
AI, with its capacity to process millions of permutations,
I'll be right back.
has fallen
God
short.
damn it.
If this
All right. Welcome back, everybody. We have cleaned up the mess. That was just a little bit of a little mistake on my part. It's all right though. I don't know how, but the painting didn't even get any paint. Like nothing happened to it. Like I don't even understand how that's possible, but I'm gonna go with it. We're all gonna go with it, right? Yes, class, that is correct. Oh, where did the purple? Where'd my purple paint go, baby? Oh, all right, I'm just gonna do these purple, and then um go over it with the lighter purple in some spots because creating a chroma key type of thing behind all these is like not working out. So we're gonna try something different, baby. I don't know why I keep saying that. All right. It is pretty interesting when you like think about it, because I watch Asmongold, off and on. Um, and I don't know, it's just crazy to me to have that many viewers. And like I don't even know where I was going with that, but he just seems to have everything so dialed in. But then I wonder, like, that's what I was gonna say. Like, what does he do off screen? Or like, God, it must be so weird. Like turning off the screen, like literally probably the same way I do, and having, you know, 20,000, 100,000 people waiting and watching you, you know? That just seems so cool. What a crazy, like, life. Yeah. What a crazy privilege to have that many people, like, actually care and tune into you. Like, you could never say to somebody, nobody cares about me. You know what I mean? I feel like I am 100% anonymous. You know what I mean? I can't stop saying, you know what I mean? Um, but the chances of me becoming anything other than like, you know, what this is going right now, I don't know. Seems pretty hard with like all these like younger kids too nowadays. They know how to promote and all that stuff. Although I really wanted to see if I could do this organically, which I actually don't think is possible. Unless I just keep grinding on this shit and then eventually, like after what, like a couple years maybe it'll pick up and I'll just have such a backlog of content that maybe that's what'll happen. Or that's what could happen. I don't think it's would ever happen, but it would be amazing. I said I said to my daughter for the New Year's resolution, I was like, never really shot for something big. And I was like, I'm gonna shoot for something legitimately impossible. So I said, I'm gonna buy a house by January 1st, which seems insanity to me. But I mean, I keep watching stories about how people keep like turn their shit around like super quick, like within like a year or two, their whole situation changes. So that's really all I could hope for. is to have like an actual community that I could just talk to. Maybe I just need the what's scam likely people. All right, I'm gonna stop ranting and raving. This video, I don't want to take all this guy's content, so if you want to watch it, you can finish it on his channel. What are we feeling? The prison saga. Dude, that Drink Champs Dave Chappelle episode is actually
Is it true
really
that
good.
R. Kelly said goons
Oh.
at Chappelle?
I don't know. I don't know if this is true that R. Kelly sent goons, but I know we had goons too. So it was going to be a goon interaction. It was going to be a goon encounter. Yeah, it was going to be a goon convention, but I don't know too much about that. But damn, man, that was another thing. We was like, it was the show was fearless. It's like we're going to say we want and not care about what you think, but we do the funny first and deal with it after that.
I'm going to pee on
Could
you.
there be a Chappelle show today?
That would be a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be a tough. I think certain things. I don't know if there could be a Chappelle show, but it would be interesting if there was
something like that.
A one-off. You know?
Yeah.
But it's just so hard because now you gotta.
Today's society is a lot different than today.
But it's about to change though, Shannon. It's like I think it is. I think that the idea of cancel culture is about to be dead.
Good.
People getting frustrated with that. And after a while, we went through that stage. You can't say this, can't say that. But people are getting sick of that. If anybody would be able to pull it off, it would be him. But I think that it's going to be time for us to get back to like not concerning ourselves what you think, but what we think is funny and put it out there.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I read that you what's the In Living Color?
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I mean, was Chappelle before Chappelle.
Yeah, what about the In Living Color?
Didn't you audition for that?
I auditioned to it. I did audition for it, but I was green. I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
I auditioned for that. I was, like I said, when I first started, I came out hot, but I was green.
Right.
I was funny as a stand-up. I had a couple of little quirky little characters and things I was doing that was different from everybody else.
Right.
But I wasn't ready for In Living Color. I auditioned for Saturday Night Live. That's where I met Neil. And in fact, that audition I did a Saturday Night Live, Tracy Morgan was on that same audition.
Okay.
And he got it.
Right.
I was a guy that told a funny story, but did not understand when they say we need 3 original characters, what that looked like. I was telling long stories. And I remember Tracy Morgan, he did a character, a black hockey player.
Yeah.
And it was a very simple character, but he really committed to the character, like he had the little things and everything. Yeah. And I saw he looked like a sketch actor, but I wasn't ready for that. Yeah.
But so you didn't understand. You understand now. Now you probably go on an audition. You understand they send you the format, what they're looking for.
Yeah.
You go in there, you know what they're looking for. You become that.
Yeah, but back then, I was only getting shots because I was funny as a stand-up.
Right.
But again, I wasn't trained. I didn't know what I was doing. And there was, you know, when I look back, I was like, oh, if I was prepared for that, I probably could have got it.
Right.
But it wasn't. I always say it's a tortoise in here. I've been a tortoise for so long. I don't have a problem with the slow route, how it's going. As long as I get my money now and keep going, I'm good.
Comedy Central moves in a different direction. They do Key and Peele, which does a lot of what you guys were doing.
Right.
Did you feel any sort of resentment where you like, bro, y'all, that's us. All they did is Key and Peele, but you guys are doing what me, Chappelle, and Charlie Murphy would do.
No, I don't believe that. The reason why, everything has a moment in time.
Okay.
You're gonna compare it first off to try to replace that time slot and everything. Of course, you're gonna compare it, but there's no way. A lot of the Key and Peele stuff has been coming up on my timeline lately, and I was like, they were so funny.
They were.
They were some funny, and it could have been reversed. It could have been, they could have came before Chappelle's show,
Right.
and it would have been reversed. I think it was a timing thing. I think that they was in one of the toughest spots you could be to come behind a show that
They
became
are
so
fucking hilarious,
much
though.
part of pop culture. And then you all, I know everywhere they went, they was like, oh, y'all trying to be Chappelle's show.
Yeah.
It's sketch comedy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then there's something to be said for like, it was basically, there was two actors that read all these things. You know, in the moment, people like same time slot, whatever. But
Right.
I don't, you know.
But it had to be good because it stayed for an extended period of time. So
They had to be good. They could have just trying to prove a point to Dave. Like, we got another nigger, we're good. You know how those people upstairs are. No, just joking.
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let's just say for the sake of argument, Chappelle's show is going. And we got the thing going on with Diddy. Would y'all have poked fun of that?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
we poked fun of Diddy before Diddy was Diddying. If you notice,
fun of the man before the man was Diddy.
if you notice, Dave played Diddy and he had a lot of baby on his lips. Dave knew something that we didn't know. Dave knew something. That oil was gonna come in. Dave had one bottle of baby oil in that scene. Take that, take that, take that. Of course we would have.
That's
Because we would have
fucked
made
up.
fun of the things that's happening right now. Well, that'd have been a tough one.
Hold on. I'm trying to figure out. Hold on. This
But who haven't trafficked? China?
a lot of people.
You ain't never trafficked nobody.
Hell no.
Yeah, I know you're gonna say the right thing right now.
Ooh, ain't no right
I know
thing.
you're gonna say
Ain't no right thing right now, tomorrow, yesterday. No, ain't no trafficking going on. No. Hold on.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay. You.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Successful athlete.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
A little bit of money, not a lot.
Don't try to downplay it.
A little bit.
Bunny hopping.
Bunny hopping.
Not just saying. I'm just saying. Now, one time
I've been to the sister.
in your successful life,
I'm into the
you have
sisters.
not flown someone in with the intentions of having sexual intercourse with her.
My girlfriend.
You should be a lawyer. God damn, you smart. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Hold on. Is it true you were sitting between Diddy and Russell?
Nah,
Simmons?
see, first off.
That's fucked
Okay,
up,
so
man.
get to the second
That's
part.
how he
Okay,
brought.
second part,
That's how he
first off,
brought it
yeah.
up.
All right, what I'm trying to tell you is, all right, let me explain something to you. Yeah, no,
Hold on,
I know. Nah, I take a shot. I'm gonna tell you. I'll tell you. It's a
flustered.
photo that's going viral.
Dude, that
10
photo
years
is
ago,
fucking
Shannon,
hilarious.
would have been a photo that would have been iconic and people that wish they was in that picture. It wasn't until after the freak off shit that now picture looks suspect. But you look at that
That
picture,
suspect is
Shannon,
fucked, dude.
you see it different from me. What I saw in that picture,
Yeah.
first off, I saw 8 successful black men.
Okay.
I saw, and I was there talking about friendship, creating Jennifer.
Why you
Jennifer,
sitting between the legs?
can I finish the
Yeah.
goddamn shit I'm saying?
Hold on, can I get another drink? Because I want to hear this story.
It's just my truth.
My truth.
Which is, I saw black excellence in that picture.
That's what you saw?
All right, first off, all right, this how it happened.
Okay.
This how it
Damn.
happened. They was hating on me. I was on that boat, that yacht, and I was.
It was
fucked up,
hating on me.
right. I was really.
You remember what happened?
Don't you try and say? Nah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Say you were messed up.
I know. Don't talk about that memory shit, all right? I don't mind what that. I knew exactly what happened, which was nothing. But I was lit. I knew I was lit. You know I knew I was fucked up because Diddy looked at me like, damn, somebody get this off the boat.
Right.
I was lit. And so they was really just, everybody was mad. I was having a good time. And they was trying to take this picture, right? And everybody was taller than me. They was trying to block me out. They was already frustrated with me, right? So I did. And it was a situation like this.
That does not look like what
went to the
happened
front
in
of
that
the
picture.
And I did like this. I did not know this nigga was right here.
Want to join Club Shay Shay? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you
I
never
don't
know
know
who's
about
going to
that.
be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party because you know we like to do something before Tuesday.
I feel like he needs to rename that. Club Shy Shy. Oh, bro. That's fucking hilarious. All right. What do we got? What do we got? Is my phone vibrating or something? Something's happening. Something's happening. Sorry, y'all. All right. Man, I wish I could get some more viewers, dude. It's fucking insane. How do you, like, get more viewers? All right, let's see.
Yeah, is it too early to say there's going to be like some available property in LA soon?
I've been trying to figure that out, to be honest with
Like,
you.
when is the time?
One of
when
the
you
first
can start?
questions I asked Jason. One of the first, I was like, how quickly are y'all going to buy up this dirt?
Yeah.
And he was like, and this is what he said. He goes, it's uninsurable, not worth it. And that is going to be the issue, is that now that there are wildfires that run through every year or whatever it is, and you don't know when this kind of stuff is going to happen, the insurance companies are going to go, it's not worth it. And then the only people who can buy the homes are the people who can buy them all cash and self-insure. I mean,
so
housing prices
or it
tank.
becomes an affordable area because the FAIR plan only insures up to $3 million.
Oh, is that like the government's natural disaster?
That's what.
Well, I did see there was that couple who built a literally like a fireproof house, and it was like one of the only houses that survived in their neighborhood. So, like, I mean, maybe, yeah, I guess they were smart enough to like realize that if you can't get home insurance because of the risk, then hold your house better, I guess.
Because they were canceling State Farm other plans, so you only had the FAIR plan.
But
plus,
obviously,
like,
a lot of people can't do
little
that.
other umbrellas you could have done, but if that's your cap.
What if you just buy land and wait for California or for LA to go Republican? Now we're gonna be fine.
Once these people start, because a lot of these people whose houses are gone, like they never built a house. They maybe renovated one a little bit, or they bought an existing house. Once you start building a house in California, you deal with the bureaucracy that that is in place. All these people are gonna go, man, fuck the Democrats, fuck liberal politics, fuck leftist shit. Like, open it up, turn this shit into Texas or Florida. Let me
Yeah,
do
but you
whatever
don't
the
think
fuck
they're
I
going to
want.
streamline the shit because there's so many.
So here's the thing: if it's now okay to streamline it, why the fuck was it streamlined before? Why are you hemming up all these people?
No. I mean, in terms of building back, like they're
They
going to be like,
will.
less regulations just because we have to build this shit back.
Okay, so then they will, and then people realize, oh wow, the housing shortage goes away quickly when you actually make it possible for people to build out here. So either way, I think that people start going, all right, I think we're done with the leftist policies.
Yeah, progressivism is dead. I think.
Yeah, dead.
And
then
after this fire, does that not mean that there won't be another fire for a while? Like, if this is basically like a controlled burn that took down all of, like, the brush and shit, does that buy 10 years?
That's a good
If
question.
this is like the worst fire that's ever happened.
I feel like brush grows like that.
Yeah. Well, how fast is brush?
Yo, what's brush?
It's brush.
It's brush. It's like just a dry brush.
The shit grows like that.
It's the leaves.
It was brush. It was 80 to 100 mile per hour wind. Was the perfect direction.
Nah, it was the wind.
It was just an absolute nightmare. Perfect attack.
Man-made, bro.
Maybe. I mean, there were people lighting shit up. But that's the other thing that's like the reaction to this. It's funny, like the Luigi Mangione stuff, the reaction was people were like supportive of Luigi Mangione. And some people made it about him being good looking. I don't think it was about him being good looking at all.
That helps.
It helps because it's a little funnier to support it because you can pretend you're doing it because he's so handsome. But like the undercurrent is really, fuck that evil CEO.
Yep.
They're
Fuck
the
insurance.
haves. I'm the have-not.
We've all been fucked by insurance. And this is health insurance, so it's life and death. They play with your life. Same thing with this housing shit. Housing insurance companies are going to try to not pay out all these people.
CEOs better get fucking security, man.
Yo, that was one of your texts, like right as it was happening. And if a house like a State Farm insurance CEO gets aced out, do you think people are going to give a fuck? We're not going to give a fuck. We're going to be like, that's what's up. There you go.
Yeah. This is like, I think we talked about this before, but you know, for the billionaire class, right?
Yeah.
Or the hundreds of millionaires class, like the people who actually kind of control things and make decisions. Throughout history, you got to make sure that the poorest people have enough to live. They can't be below the poverty line, because if they're below the poverty line with no hope, like they feel like there's no way out, they're gonna kill you.
Yeah. And
that's history, right? This is like every revolution has started because of that, right? So I think what you're seeing right now is there are a lot of people below the poverty line. They feel no hope whatsoever, and they're maybe not going out and killing the CEO, but they are celebrating it or having zero empathy for it. And unfortunately with the fires, the way that the media has portrayed it is it's just kind of Malibu and the Palisades. And every time you turn on fucking Fox or CNN, they're like, this famous person's house burned down.
What are you doing?
Stop talking about the famous people's houses that burned down. Talk about the school. What's that neighborhood? Altadena they're talking about. It's just like, talk about the poor people who are renting that no longer have a house and all their family heirlooms are done.
Yeah, or they put all their money into this house. They don't have a lot of money, but you got a house in California that's going to appreciate. Now that's gone. Insurance not paying out.
Also, just the idea, like, if you don't have anything, hearing someone's house that they own burn down, the knee-jerk reaction is to not have empathy for that, because you're like, I don't even have a house to burn down.
Yeah.
Like, you're immediately putting us in this position of have-nots. Nobody's talking about like all the landscapers that no longer have work because their entire neighborhood and area that they landscape is melted, right? There's a lot of people who are fucked because of this. I think the best like portrayal of it is just like, what did you lose in the house? People can relate to that.
Yeah.
You know, I lost all the pictures of my daughter. I lost all the pictures of my family. I lost these family heirlooms. Like, I would be sad if I lost those things.
Yeah,
but when you talk about $40 million Malibu house, also don't even talk about the Malibu house. Don't even bring that shit up. Whether that exists or doesn't exist, nobody want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Because nobody lives only in Malibu. That's your second, third, fourth house. It's $50 million. Nobody gives a fuck right now. Just point that shit at Altadena. Point that shit at those families. Where are they staying? Are they in motels? Do they have clothes? Like, what do the kids do? The kids go to school? That's the only way to get it.
Yeah. You're also so desensitized. Like, just in general. Like, you just see wars everywhere, and then you see someone lost a house, and you're like, well, it's not as bad as the thing I saw 2 weeks ago.
It's crazy because you don't hear about the, like, it's death toll also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when you hear
25
25 people died, you're like, first of all, it's tragic. Obviously, 25 people died. But that's like half a school shooting.
Yeah,
right?
we're desensitized to 25.
Yeah, like, it's crazy. Like, so to us, when you hear all this damage, it's almost like if you resent the people who have and this like super wealthy class of people, if you resent them, it's almost like the perfect tragedy, because you're like, wait a minute, so all the billionaires' houses got burned down and few people died? Thank you. Amazing. Great. This tapped into that resentment that I had and made me feel good. Now you guys know the pain.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's an overwhelming support for what's going on over there.
I think there's an undercurrent of this, but I largely do feel a lot of that. But I do think there's an undercurrent of people that are easily written off.
No, there's some comment sections that are crazy.
Oh,
and also Palisades, think about, there's also people that have lived there. An 80-year-old is not going to take the time to rebuild and start over again versus, or it's that first couple, this is their first dream house, their first, like, their kids' schools burned down. They got to adjust.
This is tragic.
There's so much, like,
I think
Palisades
LA
as well was like a
rallying.
real enclave of like locals. Like, that was a dream neighborhood that was actually pretty well balanced. Of course, really rich homes, but it's tragic.
I think LA is rallying behind it, and there's a lot of support in LA. But I think outside of LA, and especially if you're a person who doesn't really have much, and you're seeing like a celebrity post a GoFundMe for one of their friends, the knee-jerk reaction is like, well, why don't you fund it?
Yeah.
You know, you're a celebrity. You probably got hundreds of millions of dollars, which they don't.
Yeah.
But you think they do. So I think I looked at some of these comment sections. Also, like, making it about Gaza is just, it's like, bro, the comments like, this is Gaza every day. It's like, nobody asked. We're talking about California right now.
Yeah.
We're talking about LA.
Yeah, but I don't like the left-right stuff going on either. Like,
yeah, you're saying like the politicization of the event.
That, and also some people on a certain side are like, oh, you know what, we're gonna hold funding until they agree to a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, yo, when something this tragic happens, like, you just throw the money at it and let's just get everybody in a good place before you try to bring politics into this bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against bringing politics in.
Why?
Because politicians make decisions that they have to be accountable for. But I'm supportive of being critical of politicians on both sides. So if these politicians are withholding funding simply to leverage the tragedy, let's be critical of that. If these politicians over here withheld funding to the fire department, withheld funding to the things that clear the brush, and withheld some or had some policy that affected the amount of water that could be in their reservoirs, hold them accountable for that. Right? I think that political decisions have influenced this event. So I think we got to hold those people accountable. And please believe, when politicians make decisions that benefit the city or the state or the country, they love to take that credit. This is my economy.
True.
Even Barack, the best. It was my economy that he inherited. Like,
I guess there's just no right time to talk about those things, but it's just like when you in the middle of the tragedy, like let's just focus on helping the people.
I think
Your anger needs an outlet. Your anger needs an explanation.
I get it.
How the fuck did this happen? Now, apparently, like you guys said, it's a lot of confluence of events that's crazy. Hurricane level winds with the fire, with the drought, blah, blah, blah. But at some point, you also got to look at how the fuck, it can't be perfectly planned. The city, all the money was spent correctly, et cetera, and then everything happened. And then we do feel like politicians don't really take accountability. It doesn't feel like Gavin Newsom is saying, you know what, I take responsibility for what I've done, blah, blah, blah. It seems like they're just like, let me make sure I get reelected again. Let me make sure I look okay out of this. And then you look at that and you get grossed out because you're angry looking at this. You feel bad for those people. There's a perfect outlet. There's a human being who fucked something up and isn't taking accountability. Fuck that guy.
I also think that it's an outlet for their frustration that preceded this. So it's like, if you have frustration about homelessness, if you have frustration about legislation, if you have frustration about the city, the crime rates in the city, you had all this frustration about LA. But at the same time, it's 75 every single day. You got a job, you're still getting paid, you got a nice house. You're like, all right, let me not, cry about this right now. Then this happens and it looks like there's ineptitude on behalf of the government, and you're like, all right, you know what? Fuck you. You guys all got to get out of here. So I think it's not the straw that broke the camel's back. There's a lot of fucking straw right here, but it is indicative of a greater problem.
Yeah,
and I think it's a frustration with government in general.
Gotcha.
And like progressive leadership.
Yeah. People were mad at the mayor that she was in Ghana.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
Wait, I think she left before the fires.
Yeah.
Like she was there already.
Which just what a fucking stressful. I guess
should have knew it was gonna be a fire. Should have knew it was gonna be windy that day.
What's crazy was when they're interviewing her it's right after she gets off the plane, but she just says nothing and then leaves.
Yeah.
The dead silence was crazy.
You're mayor. Why are you going?
If
She's also promised not to do these international trips before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Fuck, she can't take vacation. It's not vacation. She was at the inauguration of the new president of Ghana. Like,
why does she need to be in
Because
Ghana?
before she was on some committee that would send leaders out there. I'm like, you're the mayor now. You have one job.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's how they ended that clip? The fuck?
Going to join us, fantastic reporter. She's going to be taking a look at the January 6th pardons, which was quite, across the board, not just nonviolent January 6th offenders, but, people who were beating cops as well. And then there were a few that were sentence commutations. So she's going to break that down for us. She's also going to break down for us the news about Vivek is officially out.
I feel like all those people are about to be
He was the
famous.
first cut,
They're
and then
all
he
gonna
was
like
made
start
his
their
first
own
at one point,
podcast.
but he was the first one
Yes,
to
he's
face
been
the axe.
banished. He's been banished to the hinterlands, to the provinces from the imperial capital.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting. There's a Politico article that suggests Elon really just was kind of like annoyed with him even before the like Saved by the Bell, Boy Meets World screed. So that was the excuse to push him aside. But in any case, we'll get Shelby's thoughts and what she knows about all of that. Update on the what appears increasingly to be a temporary ceasefire in Gaza. Trump weighed in on this himself and said he has little confidence that that ceasefire will be able to hold. So we'll take a look at that. We're also taking a look at the whole TikTok situation, which is interesting. We touched on it a little bit yesterday.
Thank
but wanted to
God.
dive into that more because
Okay,
it
so
is, I mean, it says
I gotta
so much
say
about
this. This is insane. So I used CapCut to edit my videos and like my intro and my outro and shit. I had no idea CapCut was owned by ByteDance. Hence TikTok. So yeah, it was banned. So I went to go edit my outro to add our new follower, and I couldn't do it. So I was like, what the hell? And I pay for Pro too, which I was like, what the heck? I can't even get into the app. So okay, I was like, okay, well, that sucks. But I just looked today, and it took them a little bit longer than TikTok to get it back in, but it does say that it's back online. So I was able to add that. But yeah, I had no idea that it was owned by TikTok. And I guess there were a few other apps that are owned by TikTok, like weird ones like Marvel Snap, which is kind of strange. I guess went offline too. But I'm assuming all that shit's gonna be back online, but I'm confused because the TikTok ban, wasn't it just for TikTok? Or was it for ByteDance? That's kind of messed up that they ended up like if that ban still went through, I wouldn't be able to edit. I mean, I'd obviously find a different way to do it, but what is that? Oh. Damn, what was it? I have a horrible memory. That's weird that that didn't pop up when I was. Oh, who tried to call me? 1607. Oh shit! It is the dentist. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Good news though. Oh, I'm so fucking excited. Okay, so good news. I'm getting my teeth. They just got the whole thing back, like the whole case back. What they need to do now is I have an appointment next Wednesday where she said that they're gonna fit it, make sure like I can bite right, that everything's good, like with the way it looks and everything, which is cool. And then any changes, it goes back to the lab, and then I just have to wait till the next appointment, and I finally get them. Oh, I'm so excited. So maybe like, oh god, maybe like a couple more weeks. I'm so fucking excited. I can't believe they had to make an appointment for next week, and they have it. Like all they have to do is like. Ugh. She did say that if they have an appointment, that they'll call me, but I doubt. Although that place is ridiculous, I have to say, about their appointment thing. I've probably bitched about it on stream a few times, but yeah, they literally like if you don't all right, so what they'll do is you have an appointment and a week before they'll call you. You have to confirm it with them over the phone a week before. If you don't, it gets canceled. Then, so you confirm it, all right? Then it's like 2 days before they send you a text. There, you also have to confirm it. You have to send the letter C. If you don't, it's canceled. And then sometimes they'll do it again on the same day, right before your appointment. And if you miss that or don't call them back, they freaking cancel your appointment. So that's why I jumped up when they called because. And then I went through all those hoops one time, and then like they called me and was like, "Hey, we have a spot opening earlier today." So I ran back down there, which is not close. Get in there, and they're like, "Oh, we actually have an emergency patient in, so this is we're gonna have to reschedule your appointment." And I was like, "What?" Yeah. So I cannot wait for this to be over. Even the girl on the phone was like, "Yeah, been a while." Yep. I got my teeth taken out before freaking Halloween. I don't think it normally takes this long, but of course, that'd be my luck. I'm dancing with the fish. With the fish on dancing with the fish. To the night. Alright, sorry. Man, that color looks way off. It's probably my laptop screen. It's probably my laptop screen. Alright, sorry. I am awfully goofy today. Alright, hold on. I'm gonna post that I'm live. Wait, I can go live on Facebook too? Oh, brother, you need 100 followers on Facebook to go live. Goddamn. Look at that. Oh, all right, let's see. I'm live. Come check out some. I go fish on Thursday nights if they do all through the night. Wow. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Wow. Thank God nobody's watching right now. Oh, come on. Why does it keep logging me into this? Just let me share my own thing. Come, check it out. Share. No. You know, I think this little viewer counter doesn't work very well because it says I've only been streaming for 5 minutes. Doesn't seem like a very real thing. There we go. Wow, I've been on for an hour now. Wow, I've almost been on for 2 hours now. Does not feel like it. It's fucking powers. Holy shit. The other day I did 3 streams in a row. That was pretty wild. If you want to play Path of Exile, so maybe we will do that. You know, get to review. Oh, let me play the video.
Trump and Republicans and Democrats and how to wield power in this era, et cetera. So we'll take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at these Trump and Melania shitcoins. Some pastor who was involved with the inauguration decided to also get in on the action and drop his own meme coin. So wild things happening there. And a little Elon awkward gesture controversy that has the internet and the media and all the people are talking about this.
What did he do?
Sagar and I will take a look.
Yeah, I guess we can debate it. 'Cause I'm pretty
Wait,
sure
what did he do?
But okay, all right.
Pretty sure I know what
let's
you're
go
gonna say.
Yeah, that's right. I don't think there's anything that original to say about it. But yeah, so be it. I guess that's what the people want about Elon and Nazism, etc. So everyone get ready for a Roman salute history lesson.
Oh,
right?
boy.
If that's what people want, if we're gonna
fuck.
do it, let's do it. Let's start off with Donald Trump. I apologize, everybody. I just want everybody to know this. I got like 4 hours of sleep last night. And I was out very, very late. And as people know here, I'm a baby about my bedtime. Okay. I need 9
Damn,
hours,
bong
and so I
hits
got
for
2 cups of coffee and
Sagar.
Diet Coke here. Bear with me with the slips and everything.
You can
Since we're
call him-
live streaming, we're
You
keeping
can
it
call him
casual.
Donald Dump all you want, in my opinion.
Yes, that's right.
Sagar.
I'm going to start sounding like Kyle, you know? But anyways,
Ooh.
let's go with Donald Trump in the Oval Office. Producers, can we please cue up the clip? Just come in my ear and tell me whenever it's ready. Trump was in the Oval Office for a long time yesterday, actually much later than he was originally scheduled.
Man, he was already
signing
fucking
multiple
tired as
executive
shit. You could tell he
orders.
was worn
Some
out
of
from
them
that.
are posturing. Some of them will take effect immediately. One of the more high-profile ones, as opposed to January 6th, was this order on birthright citizenship. So let's take a listen, if we can, to what happened in the Oval Office whenever he was signing that.
This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
Okay, that's a good one. Birthright.
That's a good
big
one.
What about that one in the course? That one is likely to be.
Could be. We think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we'll see. We think we have very good grounds. People have wanted to do this for decades.
All right, so what we have there from Trump was one of these birthright citizenship orders. It was part of a slate of executive actions. Guys, can we go ahead and put the Trump executive orders?
I mean, it kind of
in
makes
time to
sense.
please, up on the screen so I can just read through a bunch of these. So, for example, one of the more important ones on the federal workforce was freezing of federal hiring. This is a resumption of a policy that was held under the first Trump administration. One of them was to grant top security clearances to the White House staff. There was also some, like I said, some symbolic stuff, stripping John Bolton and a few others of their own security clearances.
Yeah, all the people who signed on to that, like Hunter Biden infamous, oh, it has the hallmarks of Russian disinformation.
That's
all
right.
of
They've
them
been
had
stripped of their security clearance. I didn't even know that those people got to keep their security clearance, which is kind of ridiculous. Probably should.
Yeah, that is nuts.
Service, whatever. On immigration, we are going to quote bar asylum for people newly arriving at the border. Move to end birthright citizenship. That's the one that we just showed you. That is going to face constitutional challenge within the hour and will quickly make its way to the United States Supreme Court. It is actually an interesting question because the way that the executive order is phrased is specifically trying to target people who are in the country illegally. So it gets to this question of temporary visa status and the citizenship of the people who are born in the United States from those parents. I don't know. I've talked to a bunch of different lawyers. The odds generally seem to be against Trump. It would probably have to change a constitution. It's like the census, you know? The census, the way we do the census is ridiculous, but it literally says in the Constitution that you have to do the census that way, and nobody seems like they want to change it. So there's that one. There is the declaring migrant crossing along the U.S.-Mexico border to be a, quote, national emergency. The National Emergency Declaration unlocks federal funding, kind of in the way that you'll do it for a hurricane or something like that. Could also face some constitutional challenge, but because it went through last time around, worked its way through the courts, there's some legal precedents considering, and then designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organization. Same thing, it opens up a lot of sanctions power, and also, as
how the fuck are they not already? Like, that's crazy.
Order if they want to pursue that. On DEI, it was terminating DEI programs across the federal government, recognizing two sexes, male and female. I love the way they put this. Remove protections for transgender people in federal prisons. Tariffs. This is actually arguably the most important one here for everybody. So this is basically a confirmation of what Jeff Stein had previously reported. There is no, quote, day one tariff going into effect. The way they are doing this is moving it through the federal process for a study. So what he's effectively said is we're going to carry out a full review of the U.S. industrial and manufacturing base. The reason that you have to do that is that legally, to be able to impose tariffs, you need a justification. So there's some 180-day period where the government goes out, assesses, does a review, and based on that review, you're allowed to then declare a tariff based on a national security basis. The reason why you need to do the study is to survive legal scrutiny. So this is the beginning of the legal process to get us to tariffs, but it will not come through 100%. Similarly, like this, began an investigation into trade practices and trade deficits. This is all legalistic language, but it's very important for actually getting this stuff done. And then finally, there were
insider trading
executive orders withdrawing the U.S. from the Paris Climate Accords, declaring a national emergency, which could expedite the permitting, like to get around permitting reform, problems for drilling, yeah, I think. Oh, and then the last one is TikTok, but we will get to that. So there you go.
Yeah, and he also issued, like I said, blanket pardons, excuse me, for the J6 people. So we'll talk to Shelby about that as well. A couple other things, he rescinded a bunch of Biden executive orders, a couple of those that are interesting. One of them was aimed at reducing prescription drug prices for people who are on Medicare and Medicaid. That was reversed by Trump. Another one that is significant that we can also talk about a little bit in the context of the latest with regards to the ceasefire is, you'll remember Biden put into place an executive order allowing them to sanction extreme, violent Israeli settlers. That has been applied to some roughly 33 people. He rolled that back as well, and this is consequential right now in particular because settlers are rampaging and rioting like crazy in the West Bank, of course, oftentimes with the backing of the Israeli government. That has been rolled back. Two additional things just to note here, and can get your take on too, Sagar. So Jeff Stein is reporting about the latest indications with regards to Trump and the tariff regime. So he says, takeaways from Trump's press are related to the things I cover, and maybe you care about. 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada could start in 10 days. Obviously, Trump has been, I guess, aggressively talking to both the Canadians and the Mexican government about what that could look like. You know, if that's an across-the-board tariff, that is insanely consequential. It's very consequential for the auto industry. Those auto parts made as part of the manufacturing process cross back and forth over the borders multiple times.
Okay, then let's make our
in
own.
the course of putting together a vehicle, so that would be incredibly consequential in terms of building materials.
Okay,
In terms
why
of
can't we
oil,
make our own?
especially Midwest. So if there aren't exemptions, but these are all
I get
big
it.
question marks if, you know, we don't have a lot of clarity on all of this, so put that one to the side. China could be hit with major tariffs if they don't sell TikTok, suggest 100% as a possibility. We could talk more about that in the TikTok section. Universal tariff on all countries still on the table. Trump thinks Russia's economy is falling apart, but wouldn't comment on if he would keep U.S. sanctions. And Elon Musk's Doge will get a White House office with 20 people. More to say about that in a moment as well.
Yeah.
To go back to the birthright citizenship piece, the reason why you're saying it'll be, you know, clearly challenged, and if the lawsuit hasn't already been filed, it will be imminently filed. The 14th Amendment says, Section 1 states, all persons born or naturalized in the U.S. and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the U.S. and of the state wherein they reside. Now, scholars in particular on the right who want to say, no, that doesn't mean that everybody who's born in the U.S. is, you know, a citizen. They point to that, to the subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and make the case that potentially some of these individuals aren't really subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, so they don't count as citizens. I think it's previously been a relatively fringe legal argument that has been made. However, you now have, you know, a Supreme Court that is very conservative, and so question mark what would happen there. And then I think the other question is, like, you know, how far does Trump want to push things? Because let's just say theoretically that this goes through the court system, goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's like, no, it's in the Constitution. You can't just end birthright citizenship with an executive order. That's not how this works. There's also a possibility that Trump says, as Andrew Jackson said in the past, like, okay, well, how are you going to enforce that? You and what army are going to enforce that? So since you have this time around, and this is part of what's different, number one, he has immunity for anything that he does in office. So he doesn't have to worry about any sort of, you know, criminal consequences or whatever. That's off the table. Number two, and as part of these executive orders, Schedule F was instituted. You know, there's been a highly concerted and organized effort in the 4 years when he was out of power to make sure that he has loyalists in place who will execute on orders, even things that may not be legal, may not be constitutional. So I think you can fully expect the executive branch would go along with whatever his interpretation is. So, you know, it really does open up, like I said, a question about how far is he willing to go on this if the courts do what I think most people would expect them to do, although there are no guarantees of striking down this particular executive order.
Yeah, that's right. That's a big question, actually, for a lot of the way, the Supreme Court. And by the way, apparently Justice Sotomayor, somebody I knew who was in the rotunda, was not looking too healthy. So just people should prepare themselves now that Donald Trump is the president. Can you believe
RBG
she not,
2.0.
Can you believe she did not resign?
Yeah, I do.
I know, I can believe it too. But it's like after the whole RBG, this is a diabetic 70-year-old woman who's like borderline obese. Like, do I need to show you what a chart looks like? And beyond, why would you want to string it out your last years voting in the minority, you know, and then allegedly being in the service of some grander ideal? It's just the most insane
Then again, you
thing
can
I've
say
ever seen.
the same thing about our president, now the oldest to be sworn into office. Actuarial tables about his
hey, listen, JD's
age and weight, etc.
JD's sitting right there in the wings, okay? So it's not the similar situation where literally, like, I mean, imagine, like, that would mean, it'd be like if there's no vice president and you were that old and you could have risked it to bring in a Democrat. That would be an insane situation.
It'd be like if the person who was going to take over for Trump, if he
it's like Nancy Pelosi.
Would be like, Pelosi,
exactly.
or like Barack Obama or something.
Was the speaker, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to chance it, and you know, maybe a Democrat will become the president of the United States. So that's what she's decided to do. Overall, with the executive orders, what I would say broadly is that this is a result really of preparation over the last 4 years. And I made this point in our stream yesterday, but I want to reiterate it here for people. I think it's really interesting to consider that Trump is actually at the absolute apex of his powers because he was not in the Oval Office for the last 4 years. both
That's true.
culturally with Joe
He's
Biden.
he had 4 years to
nuking the
plan.
Democratic Party. I think they have the lowest approval rating for the Democratic Party in modern
I
history.
didn't think of that.
According to Gallup polling,
He had a whole
wins the
extra
popular
like
vote. But
4
more
years to
importantly is the
plan.
last 4 years were a battle test of the GOP. Back in 2020, the John McCains, the Jeff Flakes, the Liz Cheneys, and all of those other people, there was not a ton, but there was a little bit of consternation ideologically and theoretically about the party. But Trump being able to get away with all of the things that he has done, still get the nomination, and still get elected to the White House, on top of a 4-year, what I would almost describe as like a cooling off period for the conservative movement, where everyone had a fight about DeSantis versus Trump and all of that. Then Trump won. So for the last 2 years, the conservative legal establishment, the Federalist Society, all of these people have gotten together and be like, okay, like we're doing this if we win. And this is the way that we're going to do it. That's so different. I mean, monumentally different than 2017, where everything was up for grabs. Half the people who worked for Trump didn't even like Trump. They actually voted against him, or they denounced him, you know, a month before they were working as White House Chief of Staff or whatever, like Reince previous. This time is just like totally not the case. And with those loyalists, but
It
on
is
top
weird.
Of, like,
It
the
is a huge
professionalism, I
shift.
would say, of a lot of the senior executive service and others who will be replacing the current bureaucrats, the lawyer, people like Will Scharf, the guy who was in that video, who the staff secretary. These are, you know, Harvard, Princeton educated lawyers. These are people with like a blue pedigree background. Stephen Miller and them have been working behind the scenes now for years to be able to prepare this. So I do think it will look very different this time around in the interim. Now, there will always be chaos. There will always be Mika Brzezinski facelift tweets, truths, you know, and all of that, etc. But at an actionable level, I expect it and see this in such a difference from last time. I mean, don't you remember that travel ban order he put in place in his first week? It was reversed 10 days later, you know, and it was just chaotic. It made no sense. This time around, everything, like the tariffs, everything is moving
Yeah,
through
everything
the
seems to be
technical legal process to
way
avoid
more
court challenge,
organized.
to avoid many of the things that struck them down and he had problems with. So that's really what I see in the professionalism of a lot of the people around Donald Trump. That has nothing to do with Trump himself, but it has to do with the movement, what people believe in, and actually trying to make actionable many of the things he talked about on the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I would say that is basically they have their ducks in a row and there are no brakes left on the car.
Right.
And he doesn't have to answer to anyone. He doesn't have to
get reelected.
Running for re-election again.
Right.
So there's no Democratic break. Any sort of GOP
The only
opposition
thing
has
I
been
think is that the Democrats are
I
going to
mean,
try to
a lot of
impeach him again.
Democratic opposition has been vanquished.
For
See the
something
fact that Marco
stupid.
Rubio got approved, is like total neocon warmonger, but whatever, got approved 99-0 in his Senate confirmation hearing yesterday. And it shows you what a great fight the Democrats are putting up this time around. And I think part of that is, you know,
There
not
is no
only,
more
yes, he
Democrat.
won the popular vote,
It's
you know,
just
by a
fucking
point and a
over,
half.
dude.
Yes, there's this, you know, huge sort of vibe shift with all the like tech oligarchs backing him and this like cultural right-wing
That was
cultural
crazy.
consensus that is formed, especially in particular sort of at elite levels where this has been embraced as their path to make sure that they hold their grip on power, et cetera. So you have all of those pieces that have come together. And then also, you know, Trump from a business perspective, in his first administration, his big accomplishment was passing a giant tax cut. Some of the more like populist direction that he had embraced in 2016, now he's, you know, hanging out with the masters of the universe, tech oligarch types. He had like 4 of the 5 richest people in the world at his inauguration sitting behind him yesterday. And so the business community doesn't feel threatened or afraid anymore the way that they did the last time. They feel like there's more to be gained from
What a
collaborating
crazy
with
amount
him
of power
than
in
there
that
is
room.
to be gained from opposing him. So yeah, I mean, and like I said, one of the so there's a whole raft of executive orders. The birthright citizenship one is not the only one that is ultimately going to be challenged in federal court. And then the question is, okay, well, how far
Is
he going
Elon
to
Musk
go?
a U.S.
Because
citizen?
what we're basically relying on at this point is for Donald Trump to check himself, to say,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
the court said I can't do that.
Did
so
he have to take
I'm
like
not
a
gonna do that.
citizenship test? now?
Because there is no other check in place. Like
I would feel that shit.
That has been part of the effort of the past 4 years,
It
and
can
really
only
consolidated by
take
the Supreme Court with the immunity decision. That has been the project the last 4 years, is to make sure there are no possible checks in place. And yes, they've been very
All
successful
right.
at that. So, you know, if I have
This
to
is
look at these
looking
executive orders,
mighty
I read through
fine.
the entire, you know, thread listing all of them. There are quite a number of them. A lot of them in a lot of different directions. You know, there was some like woke DEI, anti-DEI.
All right. I am. Oops, sorry. I think that's it for this stream. I got a few things I want to do. And then I think I'm gonna come back and we'll do a Path of Exile stream for stream number 60. Sound good? All right. Thank you to anybody who watches this or was watching it. I don't think anybody actually joined the stream, but that's okay. We'll get there. We will get there. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And I hope you all have an awesome day. Beep.